to our final Tele-Town Hall call for the month of August. You know, it's hard to believe the summer is beginning to wind down, and next week kicks off the last hurrah of the traditional summer travel season with Labor Day weekend looming on the horizon. The health of the tourism industry, it often gives us a glimpse to the overall health of our economy. To give you a snapshot of the summer season, I'm pleased to report that July tourism numbers saw a positive gain. Yes, a positive gain, and it's the first time for an overall uptick in tourism numbers that we've seen since the pandemic began. And while I caution us that we're certainly not where we were last year, we're definitely faring better than many of our other competitive destinations. For the month of July, our occupancy is actually up 2.9% over last year, and the average daily rate saw a 10.6% gain. And RevPAR is producing much better than it was in months ahead. So it's a bright spot that offers some optimism and lift provided largely by our home and villa offerings, with numbers still lagging on the hotel front. Earlier this week, I was pleased to participate in the press conference with Representative Jeff Bradley, who presented conceptual drawings for the proposed idea of turning our existing bridge into a linear parkway over the water for pedestrians and bikes, linking the island to the mainland and Bluffton. We shared the images on our chamber social media outlets, and if you haven't already seen them, I encourage you to take a look and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at HHIB Chamber. It's an ambitious idea that would be an amenity enjoyed by both residents and visitors for decades to come. And there's a lot of ground to cover this morning's town hall, so we're going to get off to a great start with our first thought leader. He's in charge of the vision, editorial direction, and content for a very well-known and well-loved brand, Southern Living. Southern Living reaches over 23 million passionate and loyal readers across numerous media platforms every month. It's hard to believe their first magazine was launched in 1966. Southern Living has turned a beloved magazine into a powerhouse brand through their books, home furnishings, a hotel collection, and even Southern Living inspired communities. How's that for powerful brand reach? Pretty strong. He's no stranger to Hilton Head Island and Bluffton. Both towns have been consistently ranked among the top 10 places readers love, and Southern Living is a brand we're very proud to be associated with. He's the consummate Southerner, and please join me in welcoming our friend and Southern Living Editor-in-Chief, Sid Evans. Sid, welcome to the call this morning, and we're delighted to have you with us.
Thanks, Bill. Can you guys hear me?
We do. Loud and yes, sir.
I've had my share of technical difficulties during this whole thing, so I'm glad we're off to a good start.
That's been consistent with all of us, I think, but we're delighted to have you this morning.
Well, listen, I'll just take a few minutes, but I want to thank you and Charlie for inviting me. Thanks for having me. I wish I was in Hilton Head right now on a beach. I'm in my dining room in Birmingham, which is headquarters for Southern Living these days. Everybody is working from home, and we're just doing everything we can to keep putting the magazine out and keep our readers happy. But I just wanted to talk for a minute about. I'll give you all a little bit of a look at what we're doing at Southern right now, and I wanted to talk about some research that we've done and what we're hearing from our audience. One of the things that we've been really focused on lately is just listening to our audience. And I think some of y'all have heard from Bridget Sellers, who is our research director. We've done 2 or 3 waves of research, really, listening to our audience, what's on their minds, what are they thinking about, particularly when it comes to travel, what are they worried about, what are their priorities. We're also listening through social media, through mail that we get, and trying to be very responsive. So that's been a big priority, and I'll share a couple of things that we've heard from them in a minute. I think, we're also just trying to be super creative right now. And as difficult as it is to deal with this situation, I think it's also a great time for creativity, particularly in media. Um, it's a time to kind of rethink your priorities, rethink how you're talking to your audience. Everybody is on a screen right now. And they're also loving magazines more than ever. I mean, we have never gotten so much positive feedback from people who are so thankful to get their copy of the magazine in the mail every month. I mean, it's just a way for them to kind of, reconnect to things that they love. It's an escape, and it's something positive for them to focus on. So, we're trying to take advantage of that as much as we can and make the most of it. We've got a couple, news items. We've got a redesign coming in our February issue. So we decided it was time for a fresh look. So look for that coming soon. There's going to be a bunch of new columns and just sort of a new look and feel. I think everybody's going to want to turn the page in 2021. We've got a new podcast that we launched this spring called Biscuits and Jam, where I'm interviewing a bunch of musicians and chefs and talking to them about their love of Southern food. We're doing a ton of video right now from people's homes and from their home kitchens. And we've had to rethink the way we're doing photo shoots. So lots of things changing, but I think, it's really taught us that, just being creative is everything right now. We're also making some changes to our Salesfest Awards, which, we run every April. And this year is going to be more of an editor's picks version. And we're going to be really focused on kind of the secrets, the undiscovered places in some of our favorite destinations. So more on that soon. I think the other thing we're really focused on is just diversity, really showcasing the diversity of the South. And, you'll see that in some of our big franchises. Like we just had one called Cooks of the Year that came out in the September issue. Tastemakers that we featured in August. And just in all the storytelling that we're doing in print and online, we're really looking to highlight the diversity of the South. So that's just sneak peek at what's going on at Southern. I just wanted to highlight really four things that I think that you guys at Hilton Head and Bluffton ought to be thinking about, and I think are thinking about clearly. That are on our readers' minds, and I think on everyone's minds. And some of the things that have really popped in the research that we've done and what we've heard from our audiences is number one is safety. They're looking for a safe place to travel. And I think that you guys have done a great job of really celebrating your safety, all the protocols that you've put in place, the outdoor dining, opportunities, the lack of crowds at Hilton Head and Bluffton. And I think that, that really is resonating with people. I've heard that you guys have been faring pretty well through all this in terms of numbers, and that's great to hear. But I also think that they're really drawn to a place that's safe. 90% of the women that we talked to in this research said, I think that travel will look very differently with most of us avoiding crowds. They are trying to avoid crowds. So, I think that's something to really highlight about Hilton Head and Bluffton. Number two, I think, celebrate your beaches. And, that's the most obvious one, perhaps. I mean, you have the most beautiful beaches anywhere. But I think everybody wants to be at the beach right now, and they even if they can't go at this minute, they're kind of fantasizing about it, and they're thinking about their next trip. So I think that's something that is really just resonating with people. They are dying for some beach time, and you guys, I think you have 12 miles of public beach in Hilton Head. Um, but beyond the beaches, the islands, the parks, the wild places there, any place that is kind of connected to the natural world, that's something that we hear over and over again, and you'll see it in the editorial that we're doing too, in the stories that we're telling. We're very focused on, celebrating kind of the most beautiful places in nature where people can kind of get out and away from crowds. Um, I think the third thing to think about right now is really celebrating your locals. Um, you know, you have so many amazing people in your area who are doing wonderful things, and one thing that people are really uh, that they're really looking for right now is people who are giving back. People who, in the midst of this pandemic, are doing something to give back to their communities. And that's something that y'all should really celebrate. People who are protecting the environment, people who are doing something good for the turtles, people who are great chefs who are sort of trying to help the restaurant scene get through this, people who are making amazing things, or people who kind of define the low country. It's definitely a time to celebrate your locals. And one of the things we heard from our audience was when people are dining out, one of the main reasons that they want to dine out is to help support locals. So I think just that's a message to sort of keep in mind. And then the last thing, and this may be the most important right now, I think, is celebrating your diversity. You know, uh, you want obviously you want Hilton Head and Bluffton to be welcoming to everyone, and you just have such an incredibly rich and diverse culture there. I think now is the time to really tell those stories. Think about what are you doing to kind of highlight people of color in your community, especially the Gullah culture. Um, how much diversity are you showing in your publications and on your Instagram feed and in your marketing and advertising? And what kind of stories are you telling? I think that that's something that is so much a part of you guys as a destination, and as a culture and as a place. And our audience is connecting with that, and they want to hear stories about that, and it's a motivation for travel to experience that culture and all the different aspects of it. So just something to keep in mind. I mean, we had our home summit uh, last year at Palmetto Bluff, and which is not too far down the road. And Sally Ann Robinson came over and spoke to us from Defusky, and took the boat over and talked to us about growing up on Defusky and just sort of the Gullah culture there. And she sang to us, and it was just the most amazing experience. And everybody was just completely captivated by her. And she's an amazing person, and neighbor of yours, and also there's so many others who I think people would love to hear from and connect with. And so that's just something to keep in mind going forward, and it's very much on our minds. So I'll leave it at that. I don't know if I've overrun my time, Bill, but that's a little bit about what's going on at Southern. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Sid, thank you, and we appreciate that update. And I also want to say thank you for bringing your home summit to Palmetto Bluff. I know I had the opportunity to welcome the group, and we were glad to be a part of that, and certainly appreciate Southern Living supporting the Bluffton Hilton Head Island area. Our first question this morning comes to us from Sheila, and Sheila is asking, how has your research differed as we've gone through this pandemic? Are you seeing readers becoming more optimistic yet?
I think I would not say that we're seeing them. I think they are optimistic. I think they're eager to travel. We know that. We know that travel is very much on their minds. It's something that they're anxious to do. They're anxious to get out, and they're looking forward to it. And they still want to hear from us in terms of ideas of places to go. But like I said earlier, I think they're also very focused on safety, and that's come through loud and clear. And the places that they're most likely to go are places where they feel like the protocols are in place, and that people are taking it seriously, and that they're going to have there are people who are watching out for their safety. So that's definitely a huge priority for them.
All right, thank you for that answer. Next question comes to us from Ted, and Ted's asking, from your lens, why is the South so well positioned for post-quarantine travel?
Well, I think there's a bunch of reasons. I mean, one, fewer crowds. Two, very drivable. People are just not as likely to want to get on an airplane right now. And I've heard mixed things about that, because I've actually, I've heard some people who have traveled on an airplane recently, and the plane's been pretty full. But we know that the numbers are down, and everyone is driving, and so I think that's a hugely appealing factor when it comes to the South. I also think that I don't have, this is all kind of anecdotal, but people are buying up real estate in the South like crazy, and in some cases sight unseen. I think the numbers are going to show up later, but I think there are a lot of people who want to get out of big cities, get out of crowded places, and seek out places where they can have some space, and they're surrounded by nature. And of course, we have a lot of that in the South.
Okay, our next question comes to us from Brennan, and Brennan is asking, you'd mentioned that the consumer is more engaged than ever. What content are they most hungry for, do you think?
Oh boy. Food has definitely been a huge one. Everybody's been cooking. I don't know. Are you a baker, Bill?
I do. I do enjoy baking. Yes. More, and my baking consists of pizzas and some bread and other things like that. But I do like working with the dough and pasta.
Well, we've seen a lot of that, and everybody's cooking a lot more than they were. So there's been a huge spike in that. We've seen a big spike in interest in our house plans. People are thinking about, I think, building a second home, or building a new home. I think they're also sitting in their homes and looking around at the walls and thinking they want to make changes. So we've seen a lot of interest in all kinds of home content and decorating content. And then the last thing is just these places places in the natural world, places where they can get out and escape crowds. We're seeing a lot of interest in that content as well, both in print and on social media.
Sid, that's gonna do it for us this morning. We thank you for being with us. I look forward to listening to your Biscuits and Jam podcast, And also appreciate the thoughts on how rethinking how we're communicating with our audience, and then some of the other things you're suggesting to celebrate. So great insight this morning, Sid. We look forward to seeing you back here soon. And also, we'll be looking for the new issues in January and February to look at the redesign.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great
Y'all
to
take
talk
care.
with you, Sid.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. As we know, tourism is a main economic driver, and also real estate is very, very important to us. And we heard Sid talk just a few minutes ago about how the Southeast real estate sales are doing so well right now. And a recent Business Insider story covered the fact that South Carolina is currently one of the top 5 spots in the country where people are moving during the pandemic. And the Low Country is definitely feeling that positive increase. And back with us this morning to talk about the booming Low Country real estate market is the CEO of the Hilton Head Island Area Realtors Association, and Gene Beck. Gene, welcome back to the call this morning, and we look forward to hearing a glowing report from you today.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much, Bill. And thanks again for having me. And what a pleasure to follow Sid with Southern Living Magazine, one of my favorites. And that always has been one of my favorites, even when I was living up north in Connecticut. And, you know, he's right. Our real estate market is soaring, especially in the Southeast. And I'm happy to share some data with you today on all of this. So let's look at that national real estate market. It's certainly a hot topic today, as we've seen the sales and activity soar. And, you know, data from the National Association of Realtors shared that there were 5.86 million sales nationwide during the month of July. And that's up 24.7%, month over month, and 8.7% year over year. And just like Sid was saying, the summary of the July existing sales homes, the South led those sales by 44%, followed by the Midwest at 24%. The West at 21%, and the Northeast at 11%. But the issue of low inventory remains top of mind, and even at that national level. And I'll talk more about that and our local market here as well. So let's get down to our local sales. So July data from the sales of the Hilton Head MLS, to which we cooperate, within our region. So that's all the sales throughout the entire region, Jasper County, Beaufort County, and even some other outlying counties as well. The pending sales were up 55% compared to July of 2019. And year to date, they were up 11.9%. So pending sales are properties that have gone under contract but have not closed. So closed transactions for July were up 41% compared to July of 2019. But year to date, we're only up at about 1%. So going forward, you'll start to see that number go up as pending sales start to close. So what about price? Property owners always want to know what's the value of their home and what kind of equity do they have. So for our region, the median sales price was up 9.1% in July compared to last July, with a median sales price of $360,000. But let me break that down a little bit for some data. So let's look at Bluffton, our zip code 29910 and 29909. The median sales price was up 18.5% compared to last July at $349,515. And year over year, it's up 9.8%. There were 247 closed transactions in Bluffton for July, up 4.3% compared to last July. But let's keep an eye on those numbers again as those pending sales start to go to close. And let's look at Hilton Head Island. Let's break it down to our condos and villas. That's a market that's been really hot, and a lot of sales have occurred in that condo villa market. The median sales price, $280,000, up 2.8% compared to July last year. But year to date, the median sales price is up 8.4%. So closed transactions for July were up 73.2% compared to last July. So our attorneys, our realtors, our home inspectors have been very busy throughout June and July getting those ready to close. So that is 168 closed transactions for July of 2020 compared to 97 in July of 2019. And for single family homes on Hilton Head Island, the closed transactions last month were up 61.4%. That is 163 transactions compared to 101 last July. And the median sales price was up 6.4% for July to $585,000. Year to date, the median sales price is up 9.6%. So you can see those are strong numbers. Our location is desirable. However, I have a but here, and but is our inventory is low. And like I said in the beginning, this is an issue nationally. Builders are struggling with cost, supply, workers. The demand is there. However, our region only has about 3.4 months of inventory. And buyers need to be aware that it's a competitive market and multiple offers are not uncommon. But let me switch gears a little bit. And while our realtors are the trusted advisors for our consumers when buying and selling real estate, but what many of our know about realtors, how they participate, what many of them don't know is about how realtors participate in our community at a local and state and federal level. Just last month, our association had a realtor-wide food drive where over 10 carloads of food was donated to Sandalwood Food Bank and to Bluffton Self-Help. In the spring, we did a GoFundMe where realtors donated to provide rental and mortgage assistance, giving $6,000 back out into the community. And I've seen our real estate companies have blood drives, food drives, and other charity assistance. And just like Sid said before, that's what people are looking for. They're looking for that in our community. And that's one of the things that certainly thrives in our low country community is the giving and the volunteer of our people and our residents. So a couple of other topics that I want to share with you. Our board president, Heather Baker, just put together a diversity and inclusion work group where they are charged to look at internally at our organization to attract a diverse and next generation of practitioners and to foster a local community to the Fair Housing Act and diversity and inclusion within our community. And we're monitoring closely the proposed Beaufort County impact fees, the proposed Hilton Head Island Sea Turtle Ordinance, and certainly the ongoing topic of affordability and attainable housing. And next month, our realtors will finish candidate screening for Beaufort County School Board, the City of Hardeeville, and the Town of Hilton Head Island. Candidate screening is our opportunity to help educate those candidates on issues that are important to realtors and to home ownership. And our association is also committed to educating our realtor members to provide a wide variety of education and professional development programs each month. As real estate business evolves, realtors need to stay informed on the law, risk of reduction, industry and consumer trends, and our neighborhoods and our gated communities, their amenities and their capital improvements and features. Just this week, we had a program on Palmetto Dunes and learned of the millions of dollars that Palmetto Dunes has put back into their community on infrastructure and improvements. So while the housing market is strong, the work to educate our members and advocate for home ownership and private property rights is ongoing. And our association is here at the forefront and help to be the leaders in those efforts. So again, the market is strong. I encourage anyone out there ready to list or buy real estate, be sure to use a realtor. Be sure to ask that they're a realtor. Not everyone is a realtor member. A realtor abides by a code of ethics above and beyond real estate licensing law. And I am happy to take any questions, Bill.
Jean, thank you so much. First of all, those numbers are staggering and certainly great to see. And then secondly, the other updates you provided are, and we all know that your members and association does so much good throughout the region. And we want to say thank you for that. Our first question for you is coming from Dorothy. And Dorothy is asking if there is a price point that is moving most quickly.
Certainly, there is a price point that's moving so quickly. And as inventory, like I said, is low. So the lower the price point, the faster that inventory. I was with a group of realtors. We just finished our leadership summit this week with the National Association of Realtors, our virtual realtor leadership summit, I should say. So as we gathered together, they were telling me that, anything under $300,000 goes in a heartbeat, and they're like scrambling to get those. Once they're listed, they're quickly are getting offers on them. So certainly that price point, but even higher than that, Dorothy, we're seeing price points even up over $650,000 that are moving more quickly. And that inventory has really come down. So it's a variety, but certainly anything under 300,000, even 400,000 and below is moving quickly.
All right, Gene, thank you for that answer. And the next question is coming to us from Jim. And Jim is asking if the purchases you are seeing, are they intended for rentals or relocation, or do you even have an answer for that question?
Well, that can be a variety. Each person has their individual needs and what they're doing with their, some people are building financial wealth, certainly from real estate. But we're seeing people relocating for sure. So let's be mindful. We probably have a lot of new residents coming into the area that we need to work with and to certainly to educate them on our culture and our environment here in our community. But yes, there are people that are putting them on the rental market. Number one, buying in for financial wealth, and number two, perhaps buying and then going to relocate here in a short period of time as they finish up business up north.
Gene, the last question for you this morning is coming to us from Deborah. And Deborah is asking if there is any legislation on the horizon that could impact property values and pace of sales.
There's, as far as legislation, we're keeping an eye on that impact fee here in Beaufort County. The impact fee is not only just an increase on the impact of the fee that allocates for fire and for roads and infrastructure, but the Beaufort County School Board is looking to add an impact fee. That can make the cost upwards of a property, some of them in upwards of an additional $14,000. So not only is that, not only is that the personal side of a person purchasing a home, but we have to look at the economic development. Our neighbors up in York County just put a large impact fee in last year, and they're kind of re-looking at what they have done in that as it has impacted economic development in that area, especially for small businesses. So we're monitoring that closely.
Talking all things real estate this morning with Gene Beck. And Gene, thanks for that terrific update. And we look forward to having you back on again soon with more good news.
Great, my pleasure. Thanks, Bill. I'm going to jump off. I got to get to the Hilton Head Island Planning Commission. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Gene. Thanks. Bye-bye. Gene had mentioned impact fees, user fees, and other things, which is a great lead in to our County Council Chairman, Joe Passavant. And also with him today, we're delighted to have County Administrator Ashley Jacobs. So, Mr. Chairman and Ashley, we're glad to have you.
Good morning. Let me begin by saying I've been listening with intent on what is happening in the area. And as you know, this past Monday, we did pass the extension of the ordinance to wear face coverings. We do feel that that has had a positive impact on what has been happening here in Hilton Head Island. We were complimented by Sid because we're doing all the things that we can to let people know this is a safe place to be. And you can see by some of the comments that we have received, people are appreciative of what we've done. They do feel safe when they go into any kind of store, business, restaurant. So those are the positive things that are being done with regards to the mask ordinance. With regards to the impact fees, we're going to be holding a workshop on this Thursday, and we certainly do welcome input from everyone as we begin to discuss that issue. It is a thorny issue. Obviously, as we heard from Gene, there's a tremendous amount of development going on, and we encourage that. We do need to move forward. We have to be careful about the infrastructure. We know that we need some affordable housing. We know there's a delicate balance with impact fees. So we're cognizant of that. There will be a thorough discussion before we make any kind of decisions regarding this. So we're going to welcome that kind of information. And I'll let Ashley comment on anything she has to say.
Well, good morning, everyone. Great to be with you all today. We, like all organizations, we are having to find new ways to be creative and flexible in the COVID environment. But I think we've adapted very well to the virtual world. Aside from public meetings, we are operating business as usual. Although our clerk of court, Jerry Rosenau, and I spoke last week, and with guidance from the Chief Justice, she will be opening the courthouse soon so that trials can be held. And also our Chief Magistrate, LaShonda Scott, will be opening magistrates' offices so they can address that backlog. We are evaluating each situation on a case-by-case basis. And then when we need to have people together in public spaces, we do so with social distancing and with face coverings to make the interaction as safe as possible. I do want to remind everyone to participate in the 2020 census if you haven't done so already. There are only 35 days left to respond. The U.S. response rate is 65%. The South Carolina response rate is 58%, and Beaufort County's response rate is currently 48%. We want to get those numbers up because it's very important for everyone to be counted, because the census determines how much federal funding we receive for hospitals, fire departments, education, broadband, and many other critical services. You can complete a form by going to our website, beaufortcountysc.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. We have a couple of questions here. The first one is coming from Raymond. And Raymond is asking if you could speak a little bit about the discussed fees for island residents on hotel rooms for the Beaufort County Sheriff's protection for the island.
Yes, the ordinance was passed this past Monday, talking about a uniform service fee. It's a delicate situation. We're hoping that we can resolve this amicably before we have to institute such a fee. But this has been going on for several months. The Hilton Head Island, many years ago, when they were formed back in 1983, made a conscious decision not to have their own police force, but to use the county police force as their police force. We've had that 37-year relationship. This particular year, the negotiations for the payment of those services became somewhat contentious, to the point where they have not provided any funds for that service. And yet the county sheriff still provides the basic services for police protection on Hilton Head Island. They, meaning Hilton Head Island, firmly believe that the tax dollars they're paying cover those services. And yet the other municipalities that have police services also have a county fee that they pay for police services, because the sheriff is the secondary provider of services that they cannot do by themselves. So in Hilton Head Island, the county provides not only the secondary services, but the primary services. So that seems to be the issue. We still hope to resolve this, and we'll see what happens. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it does. Ashley, for you, just I know you were at the press conference earlier this week, like I was, and not that you would want to get out ahead of your counsel, but I was just wondering if you had any thoughts regarding the possibility of the linear park.
Well, it's a fantastic concept, very beautiful, as you've seen from the renderings. And I think there's a lot of excitement about it in the community, particularly those who like to be outdoors and like to bike. So we do still need to take it through the county's process and let the county council hear more information about it and make some determinations about that project. So we look forward to doing that. We will bring that to our Public Facilities Committee in September.
Very good. Thank you. And the last question is coming from John. And John just asked if there's any additional information that you can share regarding impact fees.
Well, like Mr. Passmont said, I would encourage everyone to listen in to the work session Thursday evening. There'll be a lot of information presented then, an opportunity to provide input. You can also provide input before then. You can go to our website, beaufortcountysc.gov, and submit any comments or questions you may have, and they'll be answered at the work session.
Terrific. Mr. Chairman and Ashley, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate the update, and we look forward to talking with hopefully both of you again soon.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, Bill.
You're welcome. Moving on to our next speaker, as Chairman Passmont was mentioning, the being a safe place to be, and that's certainly something that concerns everyone. And we're glad to have back with us this morning from DHEC, Dr. Michael Katka, for an update. Dr. Katka?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be with you again. So a quick update on the numbers here. So in the past week for the state of South Carolina, we're reporting 5,514 confirmed and 302 probable new cases of COVID-19. This brings the total number of people with the disease in the state to 112,088 confirmed cases and an even 1,400 probable cases. For Beaufort County in the past week, this includes 187 new confirmed cases and 12 new probable cases, for a total of 4,569 confirmed and 27 probable cases. For the Hilton Head zip codes 29926 and 29928, 18 new cases were reported for a total of 793 cases. For the Bluffton zip codes 29909 and 29910, 50 new cases were reported for a total of 1,351 cases. So Hilton Head and Beaufort County as a whole have seen a decrease in the weekly case count for a fourth straight week. Although the state of South Carolina and Bluffton saw a slight increase in the number of cases, in the context of the decreases we have seen over the past few weeks, this more likely represents a leveling off of the cases. So the state of South Carolina saw an increase in weekly case counts of 300 confirmed cases comparing the previous 2 weeks. So from 5,214 cases 2 weeks ago to 5,514 cases the previous week. Keep in mind, we've been seeing a consistent decrease of 2,000 cases or more over the past few weeks. So this little blip more likely represents, as I said, a leveling off of the cases. Similarly, Bluffton saw an increase of 4 cases from 46 cases 2 weeks ago to 50 cases in the previous week. A pretty minor bump in the context of the overall decrease that we had been seeing. The 187 new cases reported for Beaufort County is lower than the 198 cases from the week prior. And the 18 new cases for Hilton Head in the past week is lower than the 38 from the week prior. Unfortunately, today we're also reporting 178 additional confirmed COVID-19 related deaths and 8 probable deaths in the state for the past week. This brings the total number of people confirmed to have passed away from the virus to 2,408. There have also been 121 probable deaths related to COVID-19. 4 additional confirmed deaths were reported in Beaufort County individuals, and the total there is at 62. There were no additional probable deaths reported in Beaufort County, and the total there remains at 2. New deaths reported in the state decreased last week compared to the previous week from 218 new confirmed deaths to 178 confirmed deaths over the past week. This is the 4th straight week of decreases in weekly deaths for the state. Confirmed deaths occurring in Beaufort County individuals increased by 1 from 3 deaths to 4 deaths reported in the previous week. So overall, we've been seeing this kind of leveling of the case numbers, which is definitely far better than a true increase in case numbers. They do, however, remain fairly high, and we would like to continue to see that downward trend continue in the future. So please do continue to stay vigilant and take those actions that make it possible. I would really love to come on and share some new novel ideal with you, but as I say week after week, we know what works, and that's wearing a mask and socially distancing when out in public, and practicing good hand hygiene and washing your hands often. We do truly appreciate everyone's hard work in reversing the trend in the increasing case numbers that we have seen, and do want to see us continue to move in the direction of decreasing numbers in the future. So as always, feel free to visit our website for more information on COVID-19. It's scdhec.gov/COVID-19. And I'm happy to take any questions now if there are any.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Keck. And you had mentioned wearing a mask, and I'll share with you and our other listeners this morning that Bluffton Town Council had a 9 a.m. meeting this morning, and they just voted to extend the mask ordinance until November 1st. So the mask ordinance in Bluffton will be in effect until November 1st. First question for you, Dr. Katka, comes to us from Joey. And Joey is asking, what does probable mean to related cases?
So probable case means that there's some evidence that they had a COVID-19 infection, but they were not able to get a swab of the nose or mouth that detects the viral genetic material, which is, our gold standard for making the diagnosis of COVID-19. So these are people who either had a similar type test called an antigen test, or these are people who are known to be in contact with someone with COVID-19 and had consistent symptoms of the disease, but weren't able to get the confirmatory test. So we have these different case definitions just to acknowledge that there's different levels of evidence. And it can be kind of confusing because a confirmed case doesn't necessarily mean it's confirmed. There's always the possibility of false positives and that sort of thing. So a confirmed case basically means that the highest level of evidence is available that that person represents a true case of COVID-19. A probable case means that there's slightly less convincing evidence that they represent a case of COVID-19, but still are pretty likely that they are.
Thank you. Our next question for you comes to us from Benjamin. And Benjamin is asking about the new saliva test that is being utilized in some places, and is asking if that's available in South Carolina yet.
I know that a lot of different practices are trying to bring it in. It's been there's some of the tests that are being tested in various areas. I don't believe it's widely available at this point, but should be. It sounds like it's a pretty good test. It's pretty convenient. It's fairly reliable. I expect in the near future we'll be seeing more and more of the saliva testing.
Dr. Katka, that's going to do it for our questions today with you. And we appreciate, again, you being with us. And we're glad to hear that the numbers are certainly trending in the right direction. And hopefully you'll be able to be back with us next week and share some more good information as to those numbers.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Katka, thank you. And then our final speaker this morning, we're delighted again to have Jeremy Clark back with us. And Jeremy is the market CEO for Hilton Head Regional Healthcare. Jeremy, welcome.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate you having me back again. And it's great to follow Dr. Katka. I'm going to echo some of his comments, but before I do, I'll take a minute to thank DHEC for all their work during this situation. They've done an outstanding job really adapting as this situation has unfurled, and really working really hard to keep us safe. So really appreciate the work that those guys are doing. I'll start off just giving everyone an update as to what we're seeing locally. This morning, Hilton Head Hospital and Coastal Carolina Hospital have a total of 9 COVID positive patients in our hospitals, with one of those patients being in the ICU. This is the same number that I reported to you 2 weeks ago on this call. And while there are some daily fluctuations, we are starting to see a leveling off on the number of hospitalizations. So similar to what Dr. Katka presented just a minute ago, we're seeing a downward decline, which is good, from our highs in early to mid-July, and starting to kind of level off right now. So we're starting to see that. We continue to have an ample number of beds available. Both our medical beds and our critical care beds are readily available if we need them. So while we have not seen a surge of COVID positive patients, I always like to remind everyone that we continue to be ready. We continue to evaluate all of the plans that we've put in place and all the plans that we didn't need to put in place over the last 6 months so that we can be ready if we do see a surge of patients. We continue to have very well developed plans to repurpose beds, staff, ventilators, whatever we might need in order to take care of COVID patients. And we continue to be very well supplied in our personal protective equipment as well. So we're in good shape there. We are always evaluating the situation and we'll adapt and we'll implement the plans that we need and that we know can keep our patients safe at the times they are needed. So while we're not seeing that surge of patients, similar to the last speaker, we want everyone to remain vigilant. Please continue to wear a mask, wash your hands, and keep your distance. This is still a very serious disease, and so we want to make sure that everyone's ready. Another thing, throughout this entire situation, we've really focused on increasing access to testing in the community, and we continue to do so. Last week, we tested over 700 patients. Most of those were in our outpatient drive-through testing centers, which are located on the campus of each hospital. And starting next week, we're going to expand access even further. So beginning September 1st, any patient can show up at our testing drive-through at either one of our hospitals without a physician order and be tested. This is going to be available to patients during the weekday mornings at no cost to the patient. And again, without a physician order, we just need you to show up. So that we believe that this is a more effective way to offer really accessible testing to our community, because we believe that testing is still a very important part of how we're managing this virus locally and nationally. Throughout these testing events, we continue to see patients testing positive. As I've mentioned before, the vast majority are local, very few are from out of town. And thus far, most are either asymptomatic or have very low level symptoms that do not require hospitalization. We always watch the positivity rate. That is the percentage of patients that test positive. And that number as well is starting to flatten in between that 5 and 10% range, down from 15 to 20% earlier this summer. So that's a good sign as well. So, while we are treating COVID-19 patients here in our hospitals, it's always good to remember that the vast majority of patients that are here do not have COVID-19. Patients are still choosing us for emergency care. Patients are choosing us for elective care. And it's because we're able to provide that high quality, safe care in safe environments. We encourage everyone, if you have a medical need, especially if you believe you're having a medical emergency, please seek care. You can do more harm delaying care in that situation. So just to wrap up, Bill, I'd just like to remind everyone that we remain ready. We've created a safe environment to deliver care. We are seeing some COVID positive patients, but the vast majority of our patients are here for other matters entirely. We are ready to handle a surge of patients if one comes, and we continue to find new ways to allow accessible or to provide accessible testing in the community, and we'll continue to adapt as well as this situation adapts into the fall. We appreciate the leadership from our state and local officials. We appreciate everyone's support for our caregivers. And as always, remind everyone to wear a mask, wash your hands, and keep your distance. And Bill, I'll turn it back over to you.
Jeremy, thank you. And it's good to hear that our numbers are where we were 2 weeks ago. Certainly haven't increased any at all. And then lastly, just wanting to confirm what I heard is that at both of your hospitals, beginning September 1st, you'll be providing drive-through testing, and people may show up without a doctor's order and will be tested.
That's correct, Bill. We will be allowing patients to show up without a physician order at our drive-through testing centers on the campuses of both of our hospitals on weekday mornings. So we'll be getting more information out about that, but that's a change, again, just to allow more accessible testing in our community.
Well, that's very good to hear, and thank you for your leadership there and for doing that. And again, thanks for being with us, Jeremy. Have a great rest of your day and keep up the good work. Great. Thanks, Bill. You're welcome. That was Jeremy Clark, and we're always happy to have Jeremy with us, and certainly appreciate the information that he provides to us on each time he's on a call. As we wrap up this morning, I want to say thank you for joining in again. I also want to remind you to be kind, stay safe, and to wear your mask. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.